So we have minutes too,
Do you
right?
want to open one?
Yeah, we can open the meeting and start with the minutes. Yes, thank you.
Any changes? Yeah, I have one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
How are you?
Did everyone review the minutes electronically before coming or?
I did. I took a look at them.
I did, and I can prove it.
Okay, I believe you. One motion. Okay, yeah. Did you guys have a chance to review the minutes? Yeah. All right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 meetings of minutes. So we can do one blanket motion to approve them.
I'll make a motion. We approve them if everybody's.
Well, I have one suggested correction.
Yeah, go ahead.
The minutes for September 24th says that the meeting opened at 5 a.m.
Oh,
Oh, I thought I fixed that.
Well,
I might have fixed it after I sent it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I think so, because I did notice it and I said, well, I don't think that's true.
And I says, well, that's good. I can prove that I read the minutes. So anyway. other
September
than
10th,
that-
right?
Huh?
September 10th. Yeah.
September
Uh,
24th, I thought I said.
5th. It says like,
It's still, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I did notice it, but I didn't fix it. I
Oh.
will.
it says, yeah, 25 in the beginning, but yeah. Okay. So we'll make that adjustment. Any other like adjustments or conversation? All in favor to approve all of the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Nobody? All right, so let's move on to the budget. So Mike Ward pulled a draft budget. And basically what this goes through is by each department, there's the 2024 approved budget, 2025 approved budget, which is the current year that we're in right now. And then the 2026 requested budget by each department. So this would include everything that everybody asked for. And I think the purpose of this meeting tonight is, or today, is to go one department at a time. And kind of just talk high level, I guess, or just discuss, the things that we would like to maybe see come out of the budget. Or any adjustments that we'd like to make. This is not the final say in the budget. I think what I would like to do is going into subcommittee, which is 2 members from this board, 2 members from select board, have a requested budget column, and then maybe like a finance committee recommended column. Where, if we feel strongly about, hey, I want to take this position out, we're not going to approve this position or whatever it might be, we can go ahead and have that reflected. And then that can be maybe the starting point, discussion point, when we meet with the select board. Does anybody have any comments or questions or anything before we start to go through it?
Nope.
Do we know how much we have to spend?
So if you flip all the way to the back, we can start there because I do think that that's like an important. On the last page,
Deficit.
projected surplus deficit. So we're basically $1 million overspent with everything that's in here, which I think I said in our last meeting, joint meeting with the select board. In my experience, being on this board is pretty significant in terms of like the overspend. We've definitely, when we pull the initial requested budget, we're always overspent, but typically it's in like the maybe $500,000 area, certainly not $1 million. So I do think that we have some work to do and like decisions to make in terms of trimming it down. Okay. All right, so we don't have to go through every single one of these, I don't think. Like, for example, the select board,
Well, interestingly enough,
or do you want to talk about that one?
no, I just have a question.
Yeah,
Uh, Let me see if I got the right line here. Yeah. Computer equipment and supplies, Michael. That 155,000 was the same last year as this year. Before that, it was 70,000. Is it just, is 155 going to be sort of the standard amount that we spend? What's the story on that?
It will be, and I can do a breakdown, but we have added some new software technologies. So this is going to be kind of an annual maintenance contract.
Okay.
that we have for those programs.
Okay.
okay.
With our IT management company is going to be a little bit more than what we were paying in the past, because we're doing the whole town now, not just town hall.
I see.
And also we're going to have permitting, so that's an annual cost as well.
Okay, thanks.
So yeah, that's gonna continue then at 155 approximately.
All right, so continuing through finance committee, this is our kind of standard reserve amount. Town accountant, it looks like the only adjustments are salary adjustments, which makes sense. Board of Assessors, I would just like to send, is it Dave Baird? An email on, just the assessor's expenses. So it was 39,600 in 2024. Last year it went up. I believe that was like related to the new GPS planes, basically like new work that they were doing in order to get better assessments. So I just want to ask him about that going up again this year to 62,000. Otherwise, everything else stayed the same.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, just to note on that too, I believe one of the biggest items on that line item is they had their new in the field assessing software,
Mhm.
and they had gotten a grant for a 5-year contract on that, and that just ended. So if the town
Oh.
wants to pick that up, then that would be an additional cost that they would be paying. But Mr. Baird definitely would be willing to come in and speak to that. He did say it's mostly the increase is contractual. So
Okay. If we want to continue with that.
if we want to continue that sort of stuff. So,
Okay.
Yep.
I don't think we need like a whole meeting on it, but I'd like to just send him an email to better understand it. All right. Anyone stop me along the way if you, as you see fit. Treasurer, collector,
Seems like a lot of salaries in there.
yeah. But I don't think any of this is new.
No.
There wasn't some, was
More or less like-
wasn't some items moved to different, back to different departments and everything not done at one department from now on? So I thought, wasn't Ray and you talking about that too, that things were transferred, he ended up doing some stuff that he wasn't, thought he was gonna do?
I don't know.
And
I don't know about that.
Yeah, this budget just reflects the current makeup of the department right
Mhm.
now. So
Yeah.
There wasn't any changes as this reflects.
This budget doesn't have any COLAs included either, so
Some departments put them in, some, most did not. So there is not across the board a whole lot that's been determined yet. No.
Typically, once we nail down the budget, then we would do some assessment on, what we could afford for a COLA increase and do that at the end.
but the unions still are negotiating as well.
Yeah.
So that million is
More.
not a lot more, yeah.
Yeah.
what's tax title property management? Is that just a contract that we have every year?
The tax title property is Water Street, 525 Water Street, and other tax title.
The $100,000?
How we doing with that, Michael? What's the story with that? Is it still tied up in court?
Right, yeah.
I don't know why you stand up. but-
Yeah, well, there's no, just so the microphone.
Oh, all right.
The sound. Yeah, it's currently trying to get the owners of the private units to agree to a condo plan in order to go back to the courts. So the
Yeah.
courts have already made their ruling.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now it's wanting to go back to the courts to develop a condo plan. And we have not yet gotten the sign off from all of those units. The residents in the units have been moved out. There's only one left as of right now, but most of the property will be vacant shortly. But I think as the town accountant indicated, that expense, it would have been, usually it's much smaller, just managing tax title accounts through the courts. But this one here is to pay expenses for that property. So we're paying for plowing and rubbish removal and any repairs to units if somebody's power is out or something like that. So-
All right, thanks.
And insurance, there's property insurance on there, which is, I think, 43,000 of that is just to cover the property.
All right, I'm just gonna keep moving in the interest of time, but, so parking fines, nothing to change there. Town solicitor, seems like nothing's changing. Okay, facilities, so if I'm remembering back correctly, facilities budget isn't really changing. He was already covering the admin fully in his budget, but now she's just going to sort of, or that person, whoever it might be, is gonna work with him full time. And then there's just some, I guess, minor increases to other line items. I think at the end of this process, we need to go through and see if we want to do these, or if we can do these kind of like 5 or 10K increases here and there and make a decision on those. But for this first pass, I'd like to just keep it to like, what are the big things that we think we need to get rid of? Anything on facility, any convo on facilities? I don't think there's anything big there. Okay, HR. So we talked about this last time. What's in this budget right now is the HR director. So we have an HR director, and I believe that the requested salary is what that person is currently making. And then the other thing that's in here is 2 additional people to be added to that department, plus an increase to the expenses.
Is that because that they moved some of the responsibilities on his back? So therefore, he needs more people to do that?
So I think, yeah, what was presented to us was that first of all, he feels the department is understaffed as it is. And then second, the school has been handling a lot of their HR administrative activities, and maybe starting after this fiscal year, the superintendent sort of indicated that he would expect the HR department to take over some of that, or all of that.
So wouldn't that help in some other departments then, by cutting them down? Or-
I don't think the school would like cut a position, no. So I think we've all agreed that we're not in a position to add an HR generalist salary at 90K.
I'm in agreement with that.
And then I think the other position is still up for discussion. And then I mean, I think the expenses too falls into are we going to be able to increase everybody's expenses, or are we going to have a hard line in terms of like, here's what you got last year and you kind of have to make it work for this year because we're not in a position to increase a little bit here and there.
Well, as you said, this won't be the first cut at this.
No,
Since I mean, off the top of my head, I don't remember what the human resources director, why he wanted that extra money for miscellaneous expenses.
Yeah, I think he just like did like a line item, like here's what I would spend on miscellaneous expenses, and it totaled up to that amount instead of the what he currently has is at 13K. So my thought on adding any position, so I'm having a hard time with the amount of vacant positions and adding positions to a budget. So there's no assistant town administrator, there's no town treasurer. And I think, I don't know if we're in a place where we can add more positions to this budget, first of all. And then second, I think it's difficult to want to add positions to a place where we're having a hard time even filling what's currently vacant. And I'm wondering if, and I don't know enough about this, but I wonder if the assistant town administrator position can have HR experience and
Yes, sir.
help would be my recommendation.
I know other towns, the assistant town manager does the human resources. That's other small towns. I know
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Sudbury, the assistant town manager does the human resource duties.
Well, in fairness to the Director of Human Resources, didn't he provide two options?
Yeah, but both of them had additional positions.
Yes,
One of the
but
options.
one of them was gonna be
Mhm.
the Assistant Town Administrator
Yeah,
would be the
/ HR director.
slash HR direct, right?
Yes.
And didn't that cut one, but it was still two?
It still had like, it would still have him as a director and then,
One
like a-
person at
Mhm.
89,000,
Yeah.
Right.
the Human Resources Manager.
Yeah.
Right,
That's it.
he'd be the assistant town manager / and he'd oversee the
Right.
human resource department, and he'd hire the generalist
Yeah,
and a secretary over there. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, one of the problems with that proposal and us generating it is, I would think the structure of the Human Resources Department would be more up to the Board of Selectmen than to us.
Definitely. So I think, I mean, yeah, we can have a say so on the budget and then make a recommendation. Like I said, I don't have the role of suggesting how we hire an assistant town administrator, but to me, that would make more sense.
Right.
So what, anyone else feels strongly about adding
Yeah.
another position to that?
I wouldn't, at this time, be in favor of adding any new positions. The human resources.
Oh, can we back up?
Mhm.
Because back to treasurer,
Yeah.
and I was reminded when you said we have no treasurer. I don't want to get her in trouble. I don't care if I get her in trouble. But Diane mentioned that the person that we have as a consultant is doing a very fine job and is the treasurer for a number of small towns. And could probably get the job done for about 70,000. Am I right?
He signed the first contract for 70,000. I believe if the town wanted him to be in the building more, provide more, spend more time, because he's a consultant. He's actually treasurer in Wellfleet and consultant in other towns. But, so he divides up his time, but depending what the town would be looking for, I cannot guarantee it would still be 70,000, because I do know some people are in favor of him being present in the building more often and dedicate more time to Clinton. So that, I can't guarantee the price, but,
He would probably be doing it for what the salary is, or
Well,
less.
and no benefits.
Yeah, with no benefits. Certainly.
That's 30%. Right?
What?
Well, are you saying, Mike, that you are looking to bump that salary down to 70?
No,
If
no,
that's what we're-
no,
oh.
no. I'm suggesting, and maybe it's something for the subcommittee to take note of, that it be discussed with the Board of Selectmen, that there might be a cheaper way out. I don't want to, I shouldn't say cheaper, less expensive way out with the treasurer
Yeah.
than $99,081. And Diane tells me she's happy with his work. But I mean, you know, again, that's something that is
Yeah.
more up to the Board of Selection. But I think that we can reasonably, looking at it from a fiscal standpoint, at least make the recommendation that it be looked at and considered. Because even if the guy only did it for, if he said, okay, I'll do it for 99,081, no benefits.
Mhm.
The benefits are usually,
Yeah.
I mean, I have always understood them to be 30%. They're probably higher now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up
Okay.
and
Yeah. We'll bring it up at subcommittee for sure. All right, town clerk, no changes. It came, the election expense came down.
what did we
Conservation,
decide on this $63,000 position?
get rid of
Nothing?
it,
Huh?
get rid of it,
Oh, we did? Oh, all right.
unless you're opposed to that.
No, I had mixed feelings about it and I
I
would
mean,
say,
get rid of it for like initial pass.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so town clerk, no changes besides election expenses coming down. Conservation Commission, so, I'm not sure if everyone, I know that this was talked about at a meeting. The salary here, which is new, is us sharing a conservation agent with Sterling or,
Sterling.
so that's the salary that's in here for that person, and then expenses came down. So last year what we did was we didn't have a salary line item. We increased the expenses line item to pay a consultant to help us in that space. Now we've got rid of the consultant and we have a salary, and then the expenses are back down to 7,500 where they were before we even had anybody really working in that department. Any questions on that?
That's a required position from the state now?
I don't know that.
I don't think it is, but I will tell you this. It's a required position. The town of Clinton is a very small town and most of the easily developed land was easily developed years ago. And this is one of my 5 famous quotes from my days on the Conservation Commission. Nowadays, the land is of such that, as a guy once said to me, yeah, no, there's no wetlands down there except for this brook. And one of the ways you identify wetlands is you have to be able to identify wetlands plants. And I mean, you know,
Yep.
it's a complicated thing, and there's also many regulations that you have to know that are technical, very technical. Like one day when I was filling in, they wanted to do something down at Brody's and put a roof over something, but it was near the banks of the river. Well, you can't have an impervious thing over land next to the river. I didn't know that, but one of the members did. So, I mean, it's a necessary position. I'm in favor of it.
Okay.
All right. Planning board, nothing. Zoning board, nothing. MRPC, nothing. Economic development, nothing there. Insurance miscellaneous, blanket insurance, Mike, going up. Is that just kind of like a need to do thing?
Yeah, this is our insurance. It covers all property and casualty liability, coverage and also professional liability. We did get a decrease in our policy this year, so it is lower. So you'll see at the back end, Maya also does our workers' comp. So we were able to reduce the workers' comp line item minus 65,000, so 265 to 200. And then we increased the property and casualty to 35.5. So overall, it's about a $30,000 savings from between the two programs, so.
Yeah.
So it is down, but on this line it goes up, but we took it down from the workers' comp. So
Wait.
that's just our renewal for our insurance.
Where is the workman's compensation?
It's on the final category, just before the end of the
It's-
tally of the
it's
budget,
not a-
before it's.
I've got blanket, a liability.
Yep, it's under workers' comp, which is down where the health insurance on the
At the
next to.
Oh, it's not in
It's not,
insurance.
there's different sections, different sections.
Oh, all right, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
good, thank you.
All right, police department, so a couple things have changed. I'm just gonna quickly review like what changed. So first is the $28,000 increase for the parking
tickets.
enforcement clerk. Second bigger increase is the miscellaneous expense. So I asked Mike to add the ask around the tasers and the new guns to miscellaneous expense, and that we would fund that through free cash. Since it's a one-time kind of purchase situation, we can fund it through free cash in the funding sources. And then again, next year I would expect that to come down, obviously, because those are one-time costs. Could we also fund the parking? If we're just gonna say, hey, we're gonna do this parking enforcement clerk and see how it goes, could we fund that through free cash, Mike?
You certainly could put free cash in the budget, absolutely, just knowing that next year it may or may not be there.
Right. Yeah, okay. What is everyone's thoughts on? I guess it's really just that position and then, the one-time purchase of the other equipment that he asked for.
Well, I'm generally in favor of it, but I'm willing to listen to the guidance of the rest of the board. I don't have a tremendously strong.
I personally don't have a strong opinion about adding a parking enforcement clerk. I think it'd be interesting to see how it goes, and I'm not overly opposed to it because it is just kind of like a non-benefit. Let's see how it goes. We could get rid of it next year situation.
If you get someone that's good at it, you'll probably bring in more than $20,000 in revenue
That's
and take care of the problem down there.
that's another potential benefit.
Mike, have they settled the contract? Because I see the salaries have gone up in every category. So if they on the request?
No, the contract is still in negotiations. In fact, we have a meeting with them on Thursday. So.
Then why would the salaries go up?
Is it just
Some
like
of them
personnel
get a
change?
step, wouldn't they? They'd get a step raise.
Okay. They maybe, some of them are gone to the 29th year where they get their
Hmm.
5.5%. Okay.
All right.
Police incentive that is eliminated,
What's that?
police incentive. 101,000.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Is that the old Quinn bill?
Yeah, it might be. 'Cause that was eliminated last year too.
Is that the old Quinn bill? Mike?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep, that's police incentive to combine the education incentive and the Quinn bill all into that one line.
Oh, all right, okay.
All right. Fire department. So, couple things to talk about here. First is and we've talked about these, I know, but I think now we just have to decide on them. Fire prevention officer, we funded that position at $70,000 last year, and the ask is to increase it to 125. To make it more appealing, I think, to somebody in the department. The overtime costs, so again, we funded it at $400,000 last year. I believe they're somewhere in like the mid 300s probably at this point, maybe approaching that 400. And then the ask in the budget again was $1 million as part of that. Part of his budget. Other than that, the other increases are other minor things again that we could probably take a pass at the end. So I know this, I don't know if opinion is strong, but I would propose we get rid of that. We either keep the fire prevention officer at 70K and ask that it be looked into more in terms of like posting it externally, looking for a consultant that could do that work. I'm not interested in adding another firefighter position to that department. And that's what I think the 125 is trying to do. And then in terms of or I would just get rid of it completely. And then in terms of overtime, I think we probably have to increase it. I don't know if it's 450 or 500, but I don't really want to go much higher than 500,000.
Well, why don't we get rid of it completely and discuss it with the Board of Selectmen?
Get rid of what?
Oh, the fire prevention officer.
Yeah,
And
I'm definitely not for making it 125.
Oh, no, we
That's a
definitely don't
huge,
wanna make
huge
it
increase from 70 that
Yeah.
everyone agreed to. I find it hard to believe that someone will take that job for $70,000. And yeah, to go to 500,000, I think that would be reasonable. $1 million is
Yeah,
a pretty big increase. We could hire a lot of full-time help for another $500,000.
yeah, totally. Okay.
so what did we decide about
So I think we'll get rid of the fire prevention officer for our pass and talk about it at subcommittee. And then make the overtime 500K.
well, that solves half of our deficit.
That's true.
We get it.
All right, anything else on fire before? All right, building inspector. So I did, Mike, have a question on this. Why this, like, did we hire somebody new into this position or, okay, and then the 116 would be like their current salary, that person's current salary, okay. And then was there an ask for equipment or the equipment line item from that person?
Yeah, that equipment is, they have a map printer and scanner down there. And, I guess it's unrepairable, so that would be the cost for, a replacement. Or I believe it's a replacement for that machine, so.
Okay. So we could, again, I just like to think about how we could fund these things, but we could fund that through cash again if we have it.
Right.
It's a one-time expense.
So we're saying that building inspector, we have a new building inspector on board in the town?
I believe, yeah, pretty much so. We have an offer that's been accepted. It still has to go through all the onboarding procedures, so there's an anticipated start date of June 2nd, I believe. I believe that's a Monday, June 2nd.
But we're still gonna need a commission. Is there a commissioner also that we're gonna need? Is there a commissioner that oversees?
Now, this person does have the license as a commissioner, so they would be able to operate the whole department on their.
Mike, on the permit clerk, the part-time, is that a step increase of $7,000?
No, that was giving them
More hours?
more hours, yeah.
Okay.
And the current full-time clerk will be retiring this summer. So the thought was that the part-time person would try to help pick up some of that workload, because we'll have somebody very new coming in that, that will be new to that office. So,
And the permitting clerk will start at the 63,000 or?
most likely
Well,
not. Yeah, most likely not, because this is, the current person we have is maxed out, so we probably would not be hiring somebody at that level.
I might add, we should look at the expenses because in that expense number was what we paid to a commissioner to have a monthly, it was a monthly stipend for a commissioner.
For the commissioner.
So I believe that can be cut a good amount. I wrote down a note to
Yeah. And how much were we paying the
2,000 a month.
2,000 a month?
Mm,
So that'd be $24,000 less.
yeah, that'd be helpful.
Out of
Thank
the-
you.
Out of the 32,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right, gas plumbing, nothing. Sealers of weights and measures, nothing. Electrical inspector. Emergency management. All right. So this is an increase in the wages due to adding a stipend for the SEMA director. So my initial thought on this was, I think we kind of just like picked a number and added it there, and I don't have any confidence around the need for that stipend, how much it could be. And again, I can maybe do a little more research into that before we meet in subcommittee. But to be honest with you, for me to add an $8,000, I just don't know if that's appropriate or not for a SEMA director. So
That's, they're co-directors, right?
Technically.
Police and whether they'd be splitting it.
Yeah, and I guess it would be up for the Board of Selectmen to decide, how that stipend would be split or distributed, maybe? Or would that be us?
Well, if it's a
That'd be the
line
board's-
item, we would decide on the line item, I mean, in our budget, but
But
I would think the Board of Selectmen would decide how it would be split up.
yeah, that's what I would assume too. Okay. Anyone else have any feedback on that?
Yeah. But part of that $6,000, that all doesn't just go to the directors, that goes to some of the members of the
Yeah.
self-defense.
Yeah, so I think it was so of the 14K total, 4,000 of it goes to
The help,
yes, and then 10,000 will go to a director or co-directors.
What does the help do?
if they get called out, they have meetings, I guess.
Like, I think they were saying, something flooded and they needed to bring a pump and et
Oh,
cetera.
alright,
Those are the
okay,
people
yeah.
that would actually go.
Yeah.
Would that cut down on the time that the fire chief is spending over there?
No, I think he's asking for a stipend to be compensated for that. I also
No,
wonder,
They go a lot. I mean, we would use it.
No, I just was asking.
Yeah.
That's-
I also wonder how much time of that, but this was just me in the meeting, thinking about like that, a lot of that time is due to like the condition of the building. So, is that like, do we need to add a $10,000 stipend because they have their equipment in a bad building? Or can we figure out how to move it and make that situation better? But we can, again, I think like some of this comes back on the select board too to think about, so I can definitely bring it up there. All right, I'll keep moving. Animal control, Mike, we didn't get him in here for you this year. School. Department. I don't have any feedback there unless anybody else does. I mean, I think they were asking for essentially nothing, so. DPW. So he was at, the bigger ask here was to add an administrative assistant. So he's losing 17 hours a week with the facilities administrative assistant moving over to full-time facilities. So he's asking to add, which I think I said in my opinion, I would like to not add that position and like, let's see how this goes with that person fully dedicated to facilities and the other person fully dedicated to DPW. And if there's feedback around, not being able to handle the volume of calls or inquiries or what that position does, then we can kind of reassess from there.
Who makes that call?
What call?
See how it works out.
DPW.
He would have to come to his next budget hearing and provide us that feedback.
You mean next year?
Yeah.
Now, facilities had a part-time, and they went to full-time.
Yeah, so how I understand, so facilities had a full-time admin in their budget, DPW had a full-time admin in their budget. But the facilities person was doing a lot of work for the half of her work for the DPW, even though it was fully funded by facilities.
Okay.
So it didn't really.
She doesn't
That
want to
person
do it
is
anymore.
leaving, correct?
That person is, who was helping out so I think facilities just want a fully dedicated admin.
And I know I worked over the police department that, 12 years, 14 years with a part-time.
Yeah, one part-time.
Part-time.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of work for one person.
But so now the DPW has a full-time person, yeah, and facilities has a full-time person.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
All right. I don't think there was any.
Now, yes, for Department of Public Works.
Yeah,
I don't know where it shows in this budget, but we had the issue that we discussed about the plans for Sterling Street that went from 250,000 to 450,000.
that was a warrant article, wasn't it? Yeah.
So that's not in this budget?
No.
No.
No. That's-
Okay.
Yep, that'll be coming up on the warrant.
All right, okay, so then we'll look at
Select
the
board
answers
reviewing next week.
to that question when we do the warrant articles. Okay,
I'm gonna send him an email though. Maybe just remind, no, I don't.
They do.
Well, they changed them.
From the engineer to.
Huh?
Oh, okay.
I was told by the former DPW director that they changed the goalpost on that project, and that's why. But I don't
who
know.
changed the goalpost?
The state changed what they wanted after the design was already completed.
Right.
Yeah,
All right.
doesn't sound right.
No.
It doesn't sound right that it would go up 200,000.
Well, you would think that they'd be able to use part of the design they already made. They must have all the measurements and everything already.
Yeah.
Already done, you know?
All right, but we'll discuss this at the proper time, all right.
Yeah. Board of Health. I don't see any major changes. Council on Aging, so I do think we'll have to, I don't recommend any changes at this time, but I do want to look at just, the miscellaneous, so things that went up slightly, miscellaneous expenses, programs, and then utilities. I just want to re-look at those when we do kind of our final pass. And I think that this, again, that's just a decision we're gonna have to make. Are we gonna go up on everyone's miscellaneous expenses, or do we say, nope, we're not going up, and you have to kind of work with what you had because of a tighter budget? But those are the three things that I think we'd have to look at and during the final pass. Veterans, nothing there. Library. I'm just getting through the positions. I don't see anything there. Parks and Rec. I missed the Parks and Rec meeting, so I'll have to rely on you all about how you feel about adding an administrative assistant to that department.
Sometimes it's kind of hard to make that decision when you really don't know how things are running down there.
I know, but we have to
Yeah.
make the decision.
I know that, but, so we're the ones that have to know what's going on down there? Do we get
Well, I
feedback
think
from
that's the
somebody?
point of the budget presentation is to ask kind of what's going on and why she needs that. From what I heard at the last meeting, it was due to the school after-school program
The
moving
after-school
there.
program.
That's right. They had the after-school program, they're gonna take it over. And, was that gonna cover the cost of the administrative system? And the revenue?
Well, there is a charge.
Yes, they charge the people for the after-school, and there's quite a few kids that,
But it might cover the charge.
yeah, might cover the
The
charge.
revenue will go into the revolving account.
Right,
That goes into the
Yeah,
revolving.
but it still goes up, you know.
not really, because
It's
they're.
a separate fund. She could pay the person, she could possibly pay the person out of the salary, out of the
revolving account.
revolving,
We
but
can
it
make
won't
that-
be out of this budget.
Okay.
That would,
But
honestly,
it's still on the town books, that's all I'm saying.
It is a whole separate fund. I'll try to ask her that about.
I'm proud of it.
So why don't we?
Anyways,
send it-
there's people down there watching those kids, and I'm sure they're being paid through the revolving account, right?
I don't think she uses revolving account to pay anybody.
She
Summer help? Or no, not
sometimes
even really.
part of the summer.
There's extra summer help, but not really. I would, so I like, again, I wasn't at this meeting, but just knowing that piece of it, I think there's somebody who currently runs this program as part of their job in the school department. So making it somebody's full-time job to me feels like a little bit much. And I would propose to her that she fund that through the revolving account if she's gonna have more income coming in.
I'll agree with that.
Okay, I would agree with that, but be willing to listen to arguments to the contrary via the subcommittee process and subsequent hearings.
All right,
What were the expenses going up on that?
so, yeah, so I asked her an email what those expenses were going up about because I had to miss that meeting. And what I got from her was, the AEDs,
Okay, yeah, that's right.
needing to fund those now through the expenses and the
What
like
is it?
bathrooms, like the
Porta
porta
potties.
potties.
Porta potties.
Porta potties were a big issue.
Porta
Contracts.
potties were part of it, and the paddles,
Those, yeah.
and they don't buy them, they lease them.
Yeah, it's
You
illegal.
know what? They're leasing the paddles instead of buying them.
What is a paddle? A paddle for what?
In case you have a heart attack.
Okay, all right, okay.
And that, yeah, that's a lease. Oh,
We're
so-
down the river.
Everybody wants you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I think that gets us through all the departments. Mike, was there anything else? So the two questions is there anything else that you want to call out to us is question number one? And question number two is, did you take a conservative pass at funding sources? And do you think that there's room on the funding sources to go up a little bit in any place?
Well, first question, I don't have anything more to add. This was just fairly recently kind of pulled this together, so it's pretty much current. And in terms of funding sources, and we always try to be reasonable and try to be conservative, so, I mean, certainly there's always some room, it's just increasing taxes, so.
Yeah.
You know, so it's trying to balance as to what you feel is needed in the budget compared to what the impact of the tax.
What is input for taxes right now? Is it flat or is it up to the 2.5%?
Well, the property tax rate is using what the final FY 24 FY 25 number was,
Yeah,
and then adding 2.5 to
yeah,
it.
okay,
So it is maxing out what people are paying
current.
right now to the 2.5. However, we do have some levy capacity that you could increase property taxes beyond 2.5 because we have capacity to do that. So but
Okay.
I just kept it at the current year plus 2.5 is what I put in for the initial projection.
Okay. I'd like to ask about warrants, but before I do that, so I can send an email as a follow-up to this to everyone here on our, like, what I think we agreed to in terms of having another column that says finance committee proposed or whatever, and what we agreed to kind of get rid of here and see where that lands us. But does anyone else have anything else to say about the budget in general before I ask about warrant articles?
Do we have certified free cash yet?
That's what I was gonna ask too. So
Oh.
when are warrants due? Or are they already due? The warrant articles from the
Well,
department?
warrant articles have already been submitted.
Okay,
and,
perfect.
the select board at their last meeting had a very preliminary, document. Next week, that'll be more refined, asking, to see if there was anything particularly that will or will not be on there.
Okay,
It may, I don't know if it's something the select board would vote and then the subcommittee would review, because there are a lot of funding articles on that document as well, so. But the free cash was certified at 2.2 million, so. we do have that.
2.2 million.
okay.
But
Could we get a copy, could we get the warrants emailed to us electronically? Are they like ready to go?
Yep, I do have it electronically, and I'll just add that cover sheet that where I list all the
Yeah.
articles with the cost involved, so I can just do that quickly and send that out by tomorrow.
All right,
And, well, I have a question. Michael, this document that I'm looking at, there's a spreadsheet somewhere, right? It generates this.
Right.
Can we get a copy of that spreadsheet?
Sure.
I mean, that way, as we're looking at totals, we could make some change, it's helpful in terms of seeing where we are.
Yep, no, that's fine. The only thing I would say is just to make sure we have one
Oh, no, no, no.
one
yours would be
master
the-
document, because we
Yes.
have in the past where there's been
Right.
several versions, and then when it got to town meeting, there were numbers that were.
No,
missed.
no.
Yeah, so,
It would be
That's-
just, because what I would like to do is go and make the cuts that we've made here and see where we are. And that would be easier if I had the spreadsheet that generated the thing, but I would not presume to then print it out and give it to you. Be just for my own information.
yeah, I mean, hers went up a lot. From hers around. Okay, so we need to form a subcommittee of 2 members of our board to meet with 2 members of the select board. I wouldn't say like finalize this budget, because I guess then our board kind of finalizes it before town meeting, but to discuss the budget, get their input. I know we talked about several things here that we'd like their input on. So any volunteers to be on subcommittee?
Well, I have been on it in the past. I would volunteer to continue, but if somebody wants, if the board wants somebody else, I won't be insulted there.
Anyone else?
Well, I think you
should
should.
doing that also?
Haven't
I
you?
will do it.
Okay, so you and Mike, are you and Mike?
I'm
Is
good
that
with
right
that.
with me?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll reach out to Julie Perouse and get a date from her on when we can meet. And then should we set up another meeting to vote on the warrants,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Is that all? What else do we need to do as a board besides obviously finalize the budget?
yeah, I think the giving, recommendations on the warrant articles, but it would be after the select board finalizes what ones they want on and what ones they don't. Yeah.
So May 7th is a select board meeting, next Wednesday. Okay, so the week after that, we would need a meeting. Okay. Um. So sorry, I'm just trying to like back up dates in my mind. So our public hearing where we post or we have our finalized budget, right, is May 22nd. Do we need to post it, Diane, before that, or can we finalize the budget on like May 21st?
You will have the final vote on the 22nd, a public hearing, and it goes to the clerk's office the next morning.
Right.
Okay. So, but we don't need to do anything like a week prior to that. We could meet on
No.
Wednesday, the 21st to like finalize it if we have to.
Yes,
Okay. And then the 22nd is, in my mind, just like something we have to do to allow for public hearing. And then but we need to be done with it.
has to be done, but yes.
Okay. So, I'm cognizant of, I don't really want to bump it out to the week of May 12th to vote on warrants. Could we meet on? Sorry. Could we either meet on Thursday, May 8th or Friday, May 9th? Like we can meet earlier on Friday, May 9th too, if we need to vote on warrants. Does anybody have any opposition to that?
Thursday or Friday's good with me.
Okay, here.
Friday?
Thursday or Friday, May 9th.
Is there any time of the day that doesn't work for people? Because I could do like a noontime meeting, but if that doesn't work for people, we don't have to.
No, noon time is tough. I can't make Thursday and noon time Friday.
Friday. What time could you, what's the like earliest you could meet on Thursday or Friday?
I meet about 3 o'clock on Thursday and anytime Friday.
Friday at noon?
Early in the morning, late in the afternoon,
Okay.
later, 4 o'clock.
Thursday at 3?
Thursday at 3 is okay with me.
All right, let's put Thursday at 3 down for warrant meetings.
May 8th.
May
3.
And then Mike, I'll be in touch about subcommittee. All right. Is there anything else that anyone else wants to discuss before we break?
And it's at 3 o'clock on May 8th. is that right?
Yes, here.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that.
All right, excellent. Is that next week?
Yep.
Holy convenient.
It was just this Thursday is the first.
Yeah. All right, motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great,
What
great work,
time is the
great work,
public
everybody.
hearing?